many people, they're seeing it as just an inconvenience and be like, oh, go something else. What else should we be focusing on?
It's also an inconvenience for us too, you know. But the way the structure is set up, our hands are tied. The government has put us in a position where our margins does not allow us to accept, to even pay our workers. We have very difficult decisions to make. It's either we have to find ways to cut costs so that we can operate our business.
So many people talk about consultations right now. Has there been any communication between the association and the ministry?
We have had 2 consultations with the ministry, but the Energy Chamber has produced a document which has completely, we have the document here. This is a document here. I don't know if your camera can see it. It's the impending collapse of the liquid petroleum industry. So the ministry has been warned. I don't know if they read the document, if they understood what's in the document, but it covers the whole industry from the wholesalers to the retailers to the consumers. And our gasoline is the cheapest gasoline in the whole Caribbean, whereas and we are the richest country in the Caribbean. So how come in 2004 our margins were 24 cents? Now today is 17 cents on super. Why has this happened?
I know someone that described Trinidad and Tobago as being oil rich and money foolish. And I'm not trying to get a position from you on that. But at the same time, has there been a position from the minister herself, Ms. Chinalio?
Well, I think I was listening to your news last night, and actually I think I heard the minister's position. It's more or less like, well, you guys got to do something to cut costs. We already operate in a low-cost margin business. We already understand what is necessary to run a low-cost operation, because this is what we do. We're in a regulated industry. We are price takers from the government. They control all that we do. They regulate what goes on inside of a gas station, right? We take their price. And what do we need to be able to allow people to take gas out of the pump? We need labor, we need electricity, we need all of insurances, right? We need all of these things, but there are unforced costs that are placed upon us randomly by the government. So when the government increases the price of super by 33% since like 2014 or 2016, right? We have to spend more money for cash to handle that cash. When the price of premium went up by 92%, similarly, we have to spend more money to handle the cash. These are sort of costs that are related to an increase in price with no change in the margin. You see, we earn 17 cents. So you had 17 cents at $3 before, now you have 17 cents at $5.75. I mean, it's simple math, you work it out. Your percentage margin decreases. So as your percentage margin decreases, there are certain costs that are directly attributed to that. So when you look at something like premium, right? So premium has gone up by 93%, right? We have to spend more money to handle that cash, right? We have to spend more bank charges to handle these things. Okay, all that's built into the price. But then on top of that, to add, if you want to say, to add insult to injury, right? You're now doubled the business levy and green fund levy, which to other people in other industries is minor. And I'd agree with the minister when he says, well, it's 0.9%. That's nothing. But 0.9% when you operate in that 3% margin is a big thing, because 0.9% is like 1/3 of your gross profit gone in taxes. Right? And that's why it becomes a big thing. If you look at super, where we're earning probably just under 5% margin, right? And you take out 0.9%, effectively you end up with 4%, right? And this is going back now to the issue of the credit card. credit card costs range between like 1 and 3%. Okay? So let's say it's 2% is your credit card cost. You swipe the credit card, out of the $4 that we get, right, $2 now goes to the credit card. We're left with $2. It's simple math. We are price takers, right? Our reaction is driven by the edicts of government. Our reaction is governed by what has happened to us with the government. The government has created these issues, right? We have tried to let them know through consultation. We have aggressively tried to get in contact with them. Our last meeting, we had a meeting with them, I think, last week, and it was like, okay, we'll reconsider, but basically we're getting nowhere, right? And if you have this condescending tone of like, well, guys got to do something to change your costs, well, now we have to make a decision, because out of the collective group of 140 or so stations, right, we have been thinking about it, and there's not much else you can do, right? As I said, our costs are labor, electricity, water, TSTT, or sorry,
NIS.
NIS, all of the basic costs that you can't run away from, right?
But how long have you been wrestling with actually saying, okay, this is the move that we're going to make?
I think it's ever since the last set of changes during the midterm review, right? We've been looking at different ways to go and do it, and since that time we've been trying to contact get in contact with the government to discuss these items. Hence, the Energy Chamber came up with this independent report that goes into deep detail. Now, please remember, we are talking about the retailers, but the whole industry, the wholesalers are probably also in problems too, but they haven't said anything yet, right? Petrotrin is probably also in some problem, right? But it's the industry. If we, in fact, have, or if you want to say, enjoy the lowest margins in the Caribbean, if in fact we enjoy the lowest gas prices in the Caribbean, when you begin to talk about deregulation and stuff like that, it only means one thing: the prices are going to go up.
I'm wondering, you speak about 140 to 150 stations across the country. Mr. Naraynsingh, can you give me an idea of how big that spread is? Is there anywhere that you find people not necessarily being a member of the PDA?
Oh yes, I mean, even in our country is so diverse, you know. Even in the law association that has 3,000 members, there's only about quite a few of them don't even pay their dues. So it's not unique to the Petroleum Dealers Association. Just like you have good people and you have bad people, you have good dealers and you have bad dealers. So I mean, we can't get away from, you know, people not adhering to, you know, what we want. It's a free country. You have a right to disassociate from, you know, because even the government don't represent everybody in Trinidad. So that's the way we are. That's what democracy is.
And that brings me to the question: are there like brands that saying that, well, we're still going to be taking electronic payments?
Okay, I think you're referring to what Unipet said on today's Guardian. What happened is there are members of the Unipet stations that will not be receiving credit card payments. You know, they will be receiving the, you know, cash-only payments. As a matter of fact, some of the dealers are having a meeting today under the Unipet brand, and they will be making a statement shortly within their group.
Oh, you speak of, I want you to speak about it a little more, please, Mr. Chinaliong, in terms of having to spend the money to handle cash. And I'm wondering what that actually means.
Well, okay. Every time you have to buy a load of gas, maybe $60,000, $70,000, right? It means that I have to put out more cash every time I need to buy the same amount of gas, right? I'll earn back the same 17 cents per liter on it, right? But I'm collecting more money for the government, right? Remember, I told you the price increase was 33% for super and 92% for premium, right? That's more cash that comes in. And as it comes in, you have to spend more time counting it, you have to spend more time sorting it. Cash is you know, the idea of lots of cash might sound nice to people, but it's people, right? It's things that you have to handle, carry, and transport. So then it's more money, it costs you more to transport. And to tell you how insidious the problem is, right? There are banks out there who say, we don't want your cash over the counter, okay? So now I have to give them cash in a night safe bag, right? And I don't get credit for my money until the next day, which means there's a day lag in me having access to my cash that I collected from you. So when you give me your $100, right, it's going to take me until 2 days to be able to get my cash, and we operate in a cash business. So every time you do something like that, there's a cost for like overnight, the overnight borrowing on that cash, right? It just takes you longer to get your cash in. You have to count it, you have to transport it. You have to pay more money to transport it. You have to pay higher insurances because now you have more money to handle. Handling cash is not a nice thing, right? You have to be worried about the bandits around the corner.
Well, I was going to raise the question,
well,
because you raise the point that some people might say, okay, it's a nice thing to have lots of cash, but does that present other problems in terms of like security, and do you need to, say, consider amping up the amount of security that you have?
Well, that's the whole point. Once more cash comes in, we have to be concerned about it. All right. So you know, I think one of the questions that was asked was, well, as you're saying, what about security? Well, we've already had to ramp up our security to accommodate the 92% increase in because of super, and the 33% increase in super. Sorry, 92 in premium and 33 in super. So yes, we've had to put in place more measures to handle the increased cash flow. Right? So the increased cash flow from credit cards would not be that significant to us.
Yes,
again.
That's significant.
Right, so we're already put in place, you know, so all of these things go to increasing our cost. But the strange part about this is what we're asking for has a minimal effect on the pump at the price.
And let me ask Mr. Naraynsingh, what is it that you're asking for?
Well, it's all stated here in the report that we gave to the government. There's an adequacy report. We know how much gas is sold for the next 5 years, an average, the projected average for the next 5 years. So we know how much money we can capitalize out of this. So in that projection, we have to have a consultation that will take us to that point. What and how do you want our development to take place? At what rate you want our development to take place? You know our consumption patterns. We have the ministry have all the records. Now we need some people to sit down and properly analyze this to know what is you see, you have to rebuild equipment. You always have to be modernizing to make the experience a good experience. And so when you come to a service station, you're not burdened or you don't have problems. You know, you want a smooth transition. So you come in, you get your product, and you leave. We have the data. We have everything here. We need the regulators to implement this, to look at the report, and you know, let us have discussions on how we go forward, because it's not only tanks and pumps. There is also transportation problems. There's logistic problems, and these are the things we have to take in. It's a holistic approach.